Flyers TV is sponsored by the Bay Hotel. Todd, we're into mid-June now. How are preparations going ahead of next season?
Yeah, as would be expected, I guess you could say. We've gone after a number of guys and identified, I'd said that for every player that we're losing, we want to make an upgrade. And, we're losing a few key players due to moving to other teams and some retirements, which is a bit disappointing, but that's the business we're in. And when you start going after, let's call it more high-profile guys, you end up competing with not only other clubs in this league, but other clubs in Europe and North America. And things can get prolonged and dragged out. But it's nice to be able to say that I've got the backing from the directors to get involved in these negotiations and bring top-quality players to Fife. I've had some success, had some disappointments. But that's what recruitment's all about. It's a full-time job in itself, and we've been incredibly busy behind the scenes. Trying to get away and also recharge my batteries. It's been a busy old summer so far.
In terms of the players, I know you've touched on it before in previous interviews, but getting Ryan Dingle back, Shane Stockton and Phil Paquette, how pleased are you to have them back? And is there any more from last year's roster going to be returning in terms of imports?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like there's a good chance of that. And once again, I don't want to be too vague, but there's a good chance that we will see a couple more faces from last season in a Flyers uniform, and that's ongoing right now. But we also lose a few key guys like Nico Sacchetti, and that's big skates to fill. But we're certainly working on it, and we have players in place as well. Another player that we're going to be losing is Kyle Haynes. He's decided to move on, and we wish him the best. But a firm fan favorite and a favorite of mine as well. A key player that can be relied on in all situations. So tough to replace, but replaceable. And we're working hard on that right now.
And with Nico and Kyle, those were those two players you were keen to try and bring back to Kirkcaldy?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I would have taken them both back in a heartbeat. And I know that Nico said as much that if hockey was going to continue for him, and certainly if he was going to come back to the UK, that the Flyers would be at the top of his list. I appreciated his honesty, but real life calls for a lot of these players, and we're finding more now that you don't get so many career European players, or we haven't seen as many in the last 5 years. A lot of guys come over with a game plan, and that's to come over, maybe see Europe for a couple of years, and then, like I said, go get a job back home or whatnot. And a lot of players use it, to travel and experience different cultures, which is great. And we'll take players any way we can get them. But that also results in a higher turnover than maybe, say, in my playing day.
Just on Kyle Haynes, he's been a great servant to the club in the time he spent here.
Yep, great servant and great guy. Like I said, from the moment that Hainesy walked into the door, he was exceptional for us, and a player that excited a lot of people coming to this building. He was Mr. Dependable, and he could be counted on. So like I said, that's another position that needs to be filled. I just found out about that the other day, but hey, that's the business we're in, right?
Just how many imports are Fife Flyers planning to go with for next season?
Well, absolutely. We have to go with the quota. That's part of, I was going to say demand. I don't make demand. One of my requirements is that we go with full quota. We need to be competitive. You cannot run short. You need to run at the full quota. That's something that we've learned from in the past. For the first time last year, I was allowed to run with an extra. That certainly won't be the case at the start here. I know that certainly pushing my directors to the point where they're asking questions, because ultimately they view it as a British league. Going up to 14, it really squeezes most of my Brits out of the lineup. But it's a balancing act because if the league gets up to a caliber where you need those guys on the ice to compete, absolutely. And so we're going with 14, and 14 good hockey players, and we're going to compete every night. I know that I'll be looking to tweak a few things. I think it's important that I won't take a junior player and put him out on the ice with 14 imports when he weighs 147 pounds. But I can certainly give juniors who work hard off the ice and deserve a look at it. That's something that we've done. And this year you'll probably see a few younger kids on the bench. They probably won't feature in the games, but they're going to get a taste of what it's like to play pro hockey. And we need to find new guys who are going to, take the space of our aging Brits, because they're not getting any younger, and who knows how many years that they'll play. But B, kids need to know that there's not a ceiling that they reach under 20s and they're out of the pro game. I think a great example of that is Andrew Little, who we've had training with us from the juniors for the last couple of years. He'll feature in a few games this year and get a taste of what it's like to be backup for the Fife Flyers. And we're going to help push his career on and give him the experience that he needs to develop. So, our full quota of imports mixing along with, helping some young juniors given the opportunity to try and break into the team. I know they practice with a number of them practice with us throughout the season, and they did all last year. That didn't transfer into game time, and it's a 2 or 3 year progression for a player to do that. And I think we'll see the fruition this year start to come effect with Andrew Little, who's now been with us for a while.
How's the search looking for that player assistant coach you're looking to bring in to replace Danny Stewart?
Yeah, I think it's important. It's incredibly busy job now, Ross. No longer is it, throw practice together, come to the rink, go out and play a game. There's so much now that goes on behind the scenes. It's a full-time job year-round. And certainly in the current setup that we have on the on-ice side of things, you do need help. And the search continues for an assistant coach. But I certainly have a couple of people in mind, and done some informal interviews on that. Assistant coach that comes in has to complement myself and be strong in areas that I want to strengthen, and certainly have a definitive role map that comes with the job, and that's something that I've put together and look forward to. But I think it's important that I have somebody to work with, bounce things off of, but also somebody who's going to tell me not what I want to hear, maybe sometimes what I need to hear, and give me a good solid working relationship. But ultimately, that individual's goals have to reflect our own as a club, and really have to complement us and help us push on to the next level as well.
So what's the process in terms of you trying to attract players to Fife Flyers? Just tell me about the whole process of trying to identify those and getting speaking to them.
Yeah, and we've done, this is the 5th year we're going into it now, or come back to it. And there's an incredible amount of background checks. I've stated in previous interviews with you before about making sure that we get quality hockey players and good individuals in the dressing room, because that by far has been the key to any of the small successes we've had, is having good people in that dressing room over there, making sure that everybody's on the same page, everybody's here for the right reasons. And it's incredibly time consuming. In fact, it consumes your entire days and weeks, and sometimes it feels like it's taken over your life. But if you do your due diligence throughout the summer, it pays off come September when your team steps out on the ice. And we've honed our skills over the last 5 years, and now that instead of saying, oh, we're a new franchise and we're looking to put together a good team, you can go to players now and say, look, we've made the Final Four playoff weekend 2 of the last 3 years and stumbled at the semifinals. We need to push our team on where we're going to win a semifinal and find ourselves in a final where everything can happen. I can go to a guy and say, look, we've improved our position every year in the league, right up to the last year where we tied for the conference title and lost out in the subsequent tiebreaker. We need that team that's not going to falter in October or November or any other month and bring the division title home. So I can talk to players about specifics now rather than just being vague about, well, we're trying to put together a great team. They know what I want. They know what we're trying to accomplish here. And if it's if they want to buy into that program and they feel it's a good fit for them, that's the kind of player we get.
Just on that subject of the success we've had in the recent seasons, how hungry are you to bring a trophy back home to Kirkcaldy next year?
Oh, absolutely. And now I've had some time to reflect on it. I mean, losing out to maybe now our biggest rivals, Bray Head, and what a team that Ryan always puts together over there. They're great. The conflict between the two teams and the rivalry is fantastic. But losing out to them last year by that smallest of margins really hurt because, I felt that group of individuals we had last year deserved maybe a marker of some sort of a success. But that's hockey, whether it's the smallest margin. You saw that the league championship came down to the last weekend and there was teams heartbroken on the last day. So that's how close the league is, and we've been building towards it. I'm well aware of the fact that we've been out without silverware success here for 5 years. We've made small strides, but we really need to have the team that's going to push us over the edge.
What do you feel is the best selling point that Fife Flyers has to offer hockey players?
Well, I think that certainly there's a number of things that I sell about Fife. Obviously, I've made this my home. I'm biased. I tell players that I've lived here now for 19 years, and it's become my home. But I think that there's a number of things. We are considered one of the small market teams, if you want to call it that. But, we pride ourselves in treating our players very well on and off the ice. I think that the facilities that we've been provided with, i.e. the dressing room and, the flats that they get for the guys, the accommodation and the vehicles and all the extra perks away from the rink, I think add up a lot to a player's mentality when he's making his decision come up here. This building here, you can see it can be a very volatile atmosphere when we are successful and this building is full. And the atmosphere here is incredible. And I know that in recruitment, whether it be players who've played on other teams that we're talking to or new players coming over that have known somebody who's played here, that's always commented on. Our crowd can be one of our strongest assets. And, something that I tell my players right off the bat that we have to work hard to get this crowd on our side, because they can go quiet at times if things aren't going away. It's noticeable in this building. But I've always said, and I say it to players coming in, that if they go out and lay it on the line on the ice, there's not many times that the crowd will turn on you if they see the effort out on the ice. So we have that going for us. And although it's an older rink and it's not one of the stadiums, great building to play in, by the way, too. And Ronnie and his team, I know in buildings like this, you always have issues coming up, but they work hard to right any issues that we have with it, and which makes up the whole package. And in this town, guys are quite recognizable, so they walk around town and they feel important, and it's nice that they have a good interaction with people away from the rink, wherever they be.
A big selling point, obviously, in previous seasons, the training sessions have gone on quite late into the night sometimes, but that's something you've addressed for the coming season. Yeah,
that's something that we've worked on for a number of years to make the training sessions more family friendly. I mean, I think that you got to understand when we're in a multi-purpose rink, it's not the Fife Flyers that keep this building open. It's everybody, and it's everybody working together. And I know that whether it be curling or junior development or figure skating or us or public skating, everybody wants what's best for them, and everybody has to make concessions. The training times is something that we fought for years, and it looks like they're going to accommodate us, and that's great. I mean, I think that having professional hockey players on a program that keeps them in a great routine and motivated towards the weekend is just where hockey's moved. You know, this is no longer, for years now, it's not a drinking culture like it might have been 20 years ago. These guys have been brought up since little kids to know how to take care of their bodies. They know more about nutrition than all of my generation growing up. And, you know, it is a business to them. And it's important that we provide the structure and the atmosphere for them to be at their best out on the ice.
Just finally, just to reassure fans, obviously there's a few fans wondering about when signing announcements are going to be made and new players coming in and things. So what would you say to reassure them go over the summer, because it's been a bit quiet recently?
Yeah, I've heard everything from the bizarre to the Flyers are closing up shop to there's not going to be a team next year. It's a different era, and I understand that people want news daily and they want their fix every day. And believe me, we're working on it. The most important thing is to know that nobody's shut off since the end of the season. We work hard to put together a great product on the ice in September. And if you don't hear about it April 1st, I apologize, but you're going to have a great team to watch this year. The directors are committed, and they have not held me back on anybody that I've gone after. We have some players signed now that haven't been announced and hopefully be announced shortly. I've lost some players, like we addressed earlier on in the interview. I've lost some in negotiations. But like I said, that's the business that we're in. But on the flip side of that, I am thrilled with where we're sitting at as far as the way the team looks right now. We've got some good key guys in key positions. I'll look to fill around that and build this squad up, and we're in a good spot.